Hello and welcome to day one of the Holiday Mini Series training. And I'm Coach Maggie, Certified Health and Lifestyle Coach. And about 3 weeks ago, I asked a question in several groups that I belong to on Facebook. And I expected to get some responses, but I was overwhelmed by the way that women responded. And things ranged from feeling of overwhelm, not exercising, eating terribly, not taking care of themselves. A lot of them had to do with finances, handling stressful situations with family. And so I took that information because I wanted to be able to really help my audience because, again, the holidays are here. It's the beginning of November, and as you have seen in the stores, everyone is out starting to shop. And of course, we have the uncertainty of what this holiday season is even going to look like with the virus returning. So I thought, what can I do? And so with the help of almost 250 to 300 responses, I decided to put something together. And so this week is all about giving you some tools that you can take and use. So again, I was just asking and thinking, I'll get a few responses. But the number one overwhelming response was the feeling of overcommitment, being too busy, juggling too many things. And so that's the one that we're going to tackle tonight. And so I would love to hear your thoughts once I go through this. So please, text me, send me a message, and I just would like to get your thoughts. So one of the things is that we tend to often look at a situation, a problem, and we try to, dig and find the solution. But the way I have realized the best way to handle it is to look at the why. Why is it a problem in the first place? Why are we reaching for the candy bar instead of going for something that we know is healthy? Most of us know what we should be doing, but we're not. Why aren't we exercising? Why am I taking on all these added, types of responsibility? Why am I saying yes to things that I really don't want to do? Why am I not taking care of myself? Why am I spending too much? So it's important to get to the why. And so that's what we're going to be looking at this week, the mindset behind why we do what we do. And so tonight, I want to look at that in particular. I identified 5 areas, and I have a feeling if we were talking one-on-one, you would be able to relate to at least one or two, if not all 5. So several of these are work. Do you find yourself saying yes to everything? Your boss says, can you work late? Sure, I can do that. Can you take on this problem or project? Sure, I can do that. We say yes to a lot of things that we really don't want to do. What about in the community? Most communities, there are different service groups and clubs, and someone comes along and says, oh, you'd be great at this. Maybe you could be the treasurer and you're good at money. And so we end up saying yes because it's a good cause. We volunteer for things because it's a good cause. Another one is home. Kids, especially teenagers, our spouse, just all of the different responsibilities and the things that we have that we need to be doing. What about church? That's a big one. Okay, can you teach a class? We need volunteers in the nursery. Can you bring a meal? Someone's sick. Could you drop off cookies? Again, all of these are great things. What about extended family and friends? This person maybe needs a ride to the doctor. Maybe again, there's some needs over here. Your sister's brother-in-law's wife is having a baby and they would love for you to come to the shower. Do you see how easy it is to find ourselves pulled in all these different directions? But again, now it's time to really think about our role in that. We often hear the expression, if you want something done well, ask a busy person. because they know how to get things going. They know how to whip things and whip people into shape. But again, we often get pulled in all these different directions. Really, it isn't good for anybody. So let's identify why we do what we do in the first place, why we're saying yes to these things in the first place. Number one is we're people pleasers a lot of times. Not everybody, but a good number. And I'd have to say I'm in that list of being a people pleaser. I want people to like me. I want to be accepted. And so we do fall into saying yes to things. Sure, I can do that. We don't want to disappoint people. And honestly, we don't want to disappoint ourselves because we know we can do it. So often our identity is wrapped up in the things that we do. I had a funny thought when I was preparing for this. I remember back in high school, and trust me, that was a long time ago, but I'm sure it's still true. Do you remember in the back of the yearbook, they would show the picture of each person in the class? And particularly for the seniors, you'd see that picture of that boy or that girl, and there was one lone thing that they had to show for 4 years of high school. And we almost pitied that person. But then we admired the person that had all the different things. They were president of this club and that club. They were in every sport. They were a cheerleader. They did volunteer work. They were everything. And those are the people that generally we say they're going to succeed in life. So do you see how our identity is so closely tied to the things that we do? And so we tend to get that sense of satisfaction. It's like a badge, to be able to say, look at all she does, look at all he does. And so we find ourselves saying yes because ultimately we like to please people. And it feels pretty good. And so we have to get to that place that we start saying, wait a minute, is the fact that I'm doing all these things, is that who I really am? Let's peel away all of those things and feel comfortable in our skin that we don't have to do that. Another thing is we get caught up in the comparison trap. And this is a very common one. I remember several years ago talking with a gal, and she made the comment that her daughter's in-laws were always doing all these things for the grandkids. And she felt like we can't ever compete with what they're doing. They can afford more. They take the grandkids places. They buy things. And it was like, wait a minute, it isn't a competition. The grandkids don't love those grandparents more because they do things. And yet that's where she was coming from. And again, so often we get into that comparison trap. Look what they're doing. Look what he's doing. Look what she's doing. Instead of keeping our eyes focused on what we're doing and not trying to compete because it isn't a comparison game. And so that's another big thing. So are you a people pleaser? Is that why you're overloaded with things? Is that why you're saying yes to all of these things? All right, sometimes there's just some insecurity in us, and we need to be. All right, so sometimes we're a people pleaser, so that's number one. The second one I want to take a few minutes to talk about and that's the fear of saying that little word, 2 letters, you guessed it, no. We tend to feel like we're selfish when we say no, because really, when you think about it, there's only 2 things that it means. It either means, no, I won't, and that seems very selfish, or no, I can't. And that feels a little cruddy too. And so because of that, we often say, sure, I'll bake a cake. Sure, I'll do that. Yeah, I can do that. And so again, we start accepting all of these things, and we don't want to say those words that are really hard. The other thing is, a lot of times we allow ourselves to be pulled in by someone that sometimes is making us feel a little bit guilty. And so we tend to feel like we have to say yes. Or have you done this? If you do say no, you try to come up with a good excuse. Okay, I really don't want to do that. Let me think of something that I can use as an excuse to say no, when really all you have to do is say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, but thank you for asking. I like the sound of that. So try that one on for size. Thank you for asking, but I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. We don't have to give a reason for why. Now, if you want to, absolutely, but sometimes it's just a case of saying, I can't. I don't want to. But again, if we just say, no, I can't at this time, but thank you for asking. So often we're looking for approval. And again, it's that sense of, boy, look at all the things she does. Boy, look at how great he is. He's always helping out. Another thing that is really important, and I see this especially in the church setting and work setting, so often, especially if we're a little bit of an extrovert. I tend to be an extrovert. I like being out there. I like helping. A lot of times when people are asking for help, they will ask and you'll look around the crowd and you won't see anybody else volunteering. So you're like, sure, I can bring a meal. Sure, I can teach a class. Sure, I can lead that group. I can do this with the kids. When if we had just waited, there's that little introvert behind us who really has the gifts, has the ability, has the talent, has the time. And they were just about to say, I can do it, I can help. But we jumped in. And so sometimes we just need to not say anything. We need to think before we respond. And again, we've just robbed little Sally behind us from an opportunity to pull her out, to get her included. The other thing is, sometimes when no one volunteers, has it ever occurred to you that maybe this isn't the time to do that thing? Maybe this isn't the time to start another group, start another committee. And by you raising your hand reluctantly and saying, sure, I can do it, it's one more project, it's one more plan. Even around the house, sometimes I'm like, oh, we should do this. Sure, I can do that too, when my plate is already really full. So one of the things when we stop and think about why we are overcommitted, too busy, exhausted, overwhelmed, a lot of the time it's because of things we've done to ourselves. So I hope that you can take something from that. Right now, it's just early November, so you may feel pretty good, but it won't be long until you'll start getting the calls to see if you could do this or do that. And it's interesting, one of the other responses that I got on the survey, actually I got it several times, was from people talking about the stress they were feeling when it came to holiday gatherings. And maybe being around people they really didn't want to be around. And in some cases, they were family. Maybe they were strained situations. We have the right to say no. One person commented that they had a new baby. The woman had a very, very busy business that was involving products that she was selling. And so the holiday season was already busy for her. But with a new infant, and yet her family, the in-laws, her parents, they lived a distance, and she felt overwhelmed with the thought of, who do I go to? If I say yes to my parents, my in-laws are going to be upset. If I say yes to my in-laws, my parents are going to be very upset. And so I took the time to respond to each person, and I said, you have the perfect excuse this year. And we really shouldn't need an excuse, but I said, you have an infant. We're in the middle of a pandemic. You own a business. This is not the time for you to be doing any of those things. This is the time for you to start traditions for yourself. And maybe this is the year to stay home. And she just, responded back and was so exuberant with, I never thought of that. So let's stop doing this to ourselves. Let's tap into the why. Why am I feeling the need that I've got to do everything? It's okay to be that person with that one little lone thing that you're known for. It's okay to say, no, but thank you for asking. It's okay to say, no, mom and dad, we're going to stay home this year. Or to your child, you know what? No, we're not going to do this and this and this. Maybe this is not the year to go through and do the gingerbread houses and, do all of those things that we've done in the past, but maybe not this year. And so I hope these tips will help you because, again, by far, this was number one that was overwhelming people. And the beauty of it is this can be year round because the holidays, by far, there's so much going on. But all of these things I've talked about are issues we're going to run into year round. And so it's time for us to say, wait a minute, let's think about this. Let's talk about this and start making decisions based on how they're really going to affect you and your family. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that you will join me tomorrow. We're going to be talking about some other things. I'm not going to even tell you what yet, but this week is always also, let me spit it out. This week is about equipping you to be able to get some tools because pretty soon we're going to start being pulled in all directions. And if we don't have a plan, someone's going to have a plan for you. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments. When you get this, consider sharing it with someone, especially someone that you know is already talked about feeling pulled in all directions. So join me for the rest of the week. And again, feel free to share this. I'd love to connect with you. And until then, Maggie, have a great day and a great week. And God bless. Take care.